Yo, JBlanked here. Today we're arranging a beat for a rapper in Logic Pro. Let's go. This beat native is from a beatmaking tutorial I released on my channel a few days ago. Make sure to check it out to understand how the beat was made. Let me rename the tracks so they're easy to understand. Kick, snare, hi-hat 2. You can be really creative with beat arrangement, but I always say that there is a standard, but within that standard, you can be creative. What's most important is for the hook or the chorus to be the loudest, the biggest. It needs to have the most emotion. It needs to be the fullest. Everything else really is kind of up to you, but good arrangement, good phrasing will lead up to the hook and then lead down from the hook, almost like a roller coaster where the chorus of the hook is the most exciting part, and then the verses will lead into the hook. And of course, the intro leads into the song, and the outro leads out of the song. I have my beat tag in this beat, so we're going to use that in our phrasing as well. Okay, now let me zoom out. The first thing I like to do is to highlight everything and to copy it a few times. So you can do that easily by hitting Command R. Oh, we didn't copy this. Hitting Command R. And in Logic, you cannot hit Command R unless they're all stop at the same place. You can see here, these all stop at the end of that fifth bar, and that enables me to hit Command R, and it works great. If they're not cut, you can still just select them all and then hold Alt and then drag them in place. But of course, selecting them all and then hitting Command R works. And I'm gonna do this a few times. Just about 6 is fine for now. Now, typically an intro is either 4 bars or 8 bars. It really depends on the artist. A lot of this really depends on your preference. But in my beats, this year especially, I've been using the 4-bar intros. So typically I show part of the beat, and then we go into the hook right at bar 5. The awesome thing about Logic Pro is that you can easily add your own arrangement by clicking in the global tracks, right-clicking inside of the area, and clicking arrangement. And now if we hit the plus, we can add and edit the arrangement of the project. So let me move this playhead to the beginning. And for me, the intro is only 4 bars. And then we'll hit plus again. And this is the chorus or the hook, which is going to be 8 bars. And then after that, we have the verse. Now, most hip hop tracks have an 8-bar chorus and a 16-bar verse, but sometimes you can have an 8-bar verse. But I track my beats out for a 16-bar, so all the way to 29. After that, we have the hook again for 8 bars, and then we have the bridge again. Now, this is very important in case they have a second verse, or if they want to do something different with it, they have that option to do so. But the second verse should match the same length as the first verse. And then right after the second verse, we have the hook again. And typically I'll have the hook twice instead of an outro. So we'll just take that chorus and we will make that chorus. And then during these last few bars, we are instead just going to fade out the most hype of the beat. Okay, let's go back and zoom in and scroll down a bit. Now, keep in mind, this arrangement works well if you have 6 tracks with a kick, a snare, 2 hi-hats, an 808 in the melody. But optionally, you only need 1 hi-hat. Those who watch my beat making tutorials, often I would just have 1 hi-hat an 808, a kick, a snare, and the melody. So this arrangement will work for both. Now for the intro and for the hook, we're going to remove the kick and we'll have the kick come in right at the verse. We're also going to remove the second hi-hat, and we'll have the second hi-hat come in during the second part of the hook, and then we'll also only have the tag every 8 bars. Okay, one thing I also like to do is make sure that we start off with the simple hi-hat patterns, and then once we're in the hook, then we can introduce some of the more complicated patterns. So let's zoom out a little bit, and we're going to cut this part here. I'm going to drag that over. And then one thing I also like to do is cut right where the snare is during the intro. So let's hear what we have so far.
Jay, you blanked on this one.
Okay, cool, that works. And then instead, we're just going to cut to there, and then optionally sometimes I'll take out the snare too, but we will just take out one for now. Okay, now let's hear that one more time.
Jay, you blanked on this one.
Okay, that works pretty well. One last thing that we'll do is some automation. If you do not have your master track showing, you can go inside of your mixer, right click, and then click show output track. And then when we go back out to here, you'll be able to see it. And then after that, you want to hit A, and that'll pull up the automation. I already have some here. And then you want to make sure you are on read volume, and then you can turn it on by hitting the power button on volume. Instead of -3, let's go down to about -5, and that's just a slight fade into the beat right before we get to the 3rd bar. Now the first hook is all set, but we can optionally, especially if you only have one hi-hat, we can go right until the end of the beat and cut the hi-hat until where the snare is, and that gives us some spacing. And then we can do the same thing for here and here, and then we will do the same thing for here and here. Okay, and then let's hear that, and we'll go right into the verse. Okay. Second hi-hat. Or if you don't have one, it's fine. And then we have the hook, the verse.
Jay, you blanked on this one.
Okay, now we're going to duplicate this again, Command R, duplicate that a few more times, and now let's work on the verse. Now typically we'll have everything in for a few bars. Let's take that out. We'll keep everything for the first 8 bars, and then over here we're going to drop the kick, drop the second hi-hat. We will also add some spacing just here. And then going into the chorus, we'll have either the whole last bar of the kick or part of the last bar. And then we're also going to do the same hi-hat trick. And that just works. That hi-hat trick works very well, especially if you only have one hi-hat and you want to make it sound different. And then one thing we'll do go into the hook is take off that snare. And then one last thing, we need to remove that tag there, so it's only every 8 bars, and remove this one too. Okay, let's hear a part of this.
Jay, you blanked on this one.
Okay, wait a verse, the rapper is spitting. Oh, and what we can do is,
Jay, you blanked on this one.
there we go. And that gives it some space from the kick. Because don't worry, the kick is going to return into the chorus. And the second verse, we do something a little bit different. Oh, make sure we cut this.
Jay, you blanked on this one.
Okay, and I take that back. I do want this snare there. Okay, now on to the second verse. We're going to again Command R and copy this twice. Now in this second verse, we're going to immediately remove the kick this time. Remove that second hi-hat if you have one. Sure, we'll take those out. A hi-hat trick. And then this part here, we're instead going to remove all hi-hats, bring the kick back, and then here we'll have everything with the kick. And here, take out the kick. And then there, hi-hat trick, and the same hi-hat trick from before. And then there we go. So this should sound a little bit more open, but should still keep the energy going. And then we're going to copy and paste our hook over here. Copy and paste that one more time. But we can add and keep all that in. We'll keep that spacing there. And that is it. Before we hear the verse going into the hook, there is automation. I typically add that right at the end there. And if you don't know how to get the dots, you can single click to add a dot, double click to take it away. And then we're going to drag the ending right in between that. Let's just hear the verse going into the hook, and that is it for today. So let's go here, zoom in, and I'll let you guys hear this ending.
Jay, you blanked on this one.
So it's like the energy is still going, even though we don't have a kick. And then we come right to no hi-hat. But we still have the snare, you still got the 808 keeping the motion, so it works out.
Jay, you blanked on this one.
Add back in our main hi-hat. No kick. Hi-hat 2 back in. If you don't have a second hi-hat, that's fine. You don't have to add it back in. And then right into the chorus.
Jay, you blanked on this one.
Okay, and yeah, there we go. Some things you may have noticed with the kick. If the kick is not going to be in the next set or start in the next bars, then I'll fade it off and cut it off early. So I did the same thing here. We knew that we weren't going to have a kick in this bar, so I faded it off early so we don't have, that the lead in or the ending drums right into the next bar. On the other side, if there is no kick and we're coming into like the chorus, then I'll add that kick in to kind of have some extra drive, so therefore the listener knows that we are going into something big. And then we talked about the hi-hat trick a little bit. That also just gives it some spacing and some room to breathe. It gives your beat some room to breathe. Zoom out a bit. The second to last trick was the arrangement in Logic Pro up top. And the very, very last trick was using the automation to lead in into the intro and to fade out the beat properly and the end. Today, we arranged a hip hop beat for a rapper in Logic Pro. For more Logic Pro tips or beat making tutorials, make sure to subscribe. And while you're at it, leave a thumbs up on this video. I'm JBlanked. Until next time, peace.